Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Bucky O'Hare Captain Bucky and First Mate Jenny action figures from Boss Fight Studio. That's right, my friends, brand new Bucky O'Hare action figures. So the folks over at Boss Fight are already pretty well known for their awesome Vertuvian Hacks line. Boss Fight, of course, is a smaller company known for that really cool kind of mythological 3 3/4 inch action figure line. But when they announced Bucky O'Hare as their next project and their first licensed project, I was pretty blown away. I was not expecting to get brand new Bucky O'Hare action figures. And since I'm a fan of the original Hasbro toy line and the original comic, I was really excited about it. So the first two figures are here, I've got them in hand, and we are going to check them out. So as you can see, the two figures come in beautiful packages. I love the colors used here. Beautiful images of both Bucky and Jenny, straight out of the original comic series there. And the packaging also does a pretty good job of kind of evoking that vintage feel from the Hasbro card backs on those original figures. I really like that. You can see we've got nice blister bubbles there, fully showcasing the figure and their accessories and interchangeable parts. So just beautiful artwork all the way around and really great packaging. When we flip those boxes around to the back side there, you can see that we are treated to some sneak peek images of upcoming figures. We've already seen photos online of the Astral Projection Jenny and the Stealth Mission Bucky, so we do have some repaints coming, and they just recently revealed actual images of Deadeye Duck and the Storm Toad Trooper, both of which look amazing, so definitely look online for those pictures. I know I'm very excited for this line to continue. And then we've even got some bio cards down there at the bottom. Again, very much feeling like the classic Hasbro action figures. So one of the things that is really nice, of course, about these packages is they are collector-friendly packages. So one of the things I want to point out is they're not really going to sit on your shelf very well if you're planning to do that. In order for me to actually put them up, I've got like this little clear acrylic here for them to lean up against because there's this space at the bottom here. So that's worth noting. You won't be able to like stand it on your shelf. There is a little hang tab on the back though that you can bend upwards if you want to hang it on the wall. And these are really nice because these are those collector friendly packages. So you can easily just remove the card back from the plastic like that, and we can pop the figure out very easy. That way, if you ever want to put them back in the box after you've played around with the figure and you decided, oh, that box is really cool, I want to display it that way, it's real easy to just like slide that card back right back in, and boom, you've got a carded figure all over again. I love that. But let's go ahead and get both Bucky and Jenny outside of their packages and get a closer look at the action figures themselves. Alright, so we've got Bucky and First Mate Jenny outside of their packages. We can take a closer look at them, and while I've got them side by side, let's start with the scale. Bringing in the tape measure here, you can see that the figures are just under 5 inches tall. So Jenny, of course, is the taller one with her hair popping up to almost a full 5 inches, just shy of 5 inches, while Bucky's ears bring him up to about 4.5 inches there. So gives you an idea of the size of these guys. Now Boss Fight Studio, with their Vertuvian Hacks line, we're producing the 3 3/4 inch to 4 inch action figures. So for those of you who have been collecting some of Boss Fight's other figures, I wanted to go ahead and put this up here just to show you guys how the new Bucky O'Hare figures scale alongside the other Boss Fight Studio figures. Obviously the Bucky figures are a lot more cartoony in their proportions and everything, so they're not going to match up very well with those other figures, but you can kind of see them here standing side by side just to give you an idea of what the scale looks like with the new Bucky figures. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do one figure at a time. So we're going to go ahead and move Jenny off to the side, and we're going to start by focusing on Bucky himself. So the overall design of these, I gotta say, is fantastic. Both Bucky and Jenny look amazing. The sculpts are wonderfully done. That really makes these characters look like they jump straight out of the comic or the original cartoon series, which is something very cool with these guys. The original vintage figures from Hasbro, while I love them and I love how weird and chunky they always felt, they're definitely disproportionate as far as looking like the actual characters from the show, and this is really remedied with Boss Fights figures here. They did a great job with the proportions, really capturing the overall look and feel of that original artwork. The colors are bright and vibrant, just as they should be. You know, Bucky's outfit with a nice red and yellow, and it's all very cleanly painted. And of course, his famous bright green fur that you can see on his ears and his hair here. I haven't noticed any real bad paint flaws anywhere. There are a few scuffs. For one thing, I noticed that on Bucky's goggles on his forehead, there's a little bit of silver paint splattered on the right goggle here, but just a little bit. I do gotta say I like that there's kind of like a clearness to the goggles on top of the hat. I think that's a really nice touch. Otherwise, I think the paint looks pretty great all the way around on these guys. So, there's a lot of accessories with each one of these figures, and I'm going to get into that in just a bit. I do want to go ahead and talk about the articulation with Bucky here first off. So, he's really great, and if you've picked up any of Boss Fight's other figures, you know how like kind of the ball joints and everything works with these guys, and they've definitely got some interchangeable parts. So it's kind of that same way with Bucky and Jenny. A lot of the ball joints are meant to be kind of popped out, and you can really see that with like the ears and everything. It's very easy to pop them all out of socket, but they're not so loose that they flop around or fall out, which is very nice. So those ears, they're individually articulated up there on top of his head. They're ball jointed. So they're sculpted bent, but you can still turn those around to kind of give you some different looks for Bucky's head, which is really great. He's got the nice little double ball joint going on where it's ball jointed at the neck and the bottom of the head or the top of the neck there. So you can really rotate the head all the way around, which is really nice. He does have these little shoulder pauldrons here. You can see that they do flex around a little bit, so they don't really get in the way of the articulation, which is great because we got the nice ball joints at the shoulders. Arms go forwards and backwards. Swivels at the elbow there, as well as bends at the elbow. Those are nice and ball jointed as well. And then we've got swivels at the glove cuts there. You do got a nice waist swivel there going back and forth. We do have nice ball sockets there at the thighs, so legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. We've got nice little hidden joints at the knees. I like the way that that sculpt is working there. So the knees will swivel as well as bend, and then you got nice joints at the ankles there. Look at that. We can rock the ankles side to side, as well as move them forwards and backwards, and we even have some nice toe cuts in the articulation. So these are definitely the most articulated Bucky O'Hare figures we have ever seen. I mean, not that we've had a lot of them before this, but it's really cool seeing the different poses that we can pull off with these guys. And all of the joints are nice and sturdy and tight, so there's nothing loose, nothing flopping around, so you should be able to pose these guys around really well, and that works out really great with the accessories. So let's talk about all of Bucky's accessories. We got a nice pile of them here. Some great interchangeable hands and faces along with the weapons. So let's talk about the interchangeable faces first off. You got little face plates here, which allow you to pose Bucky with some different looks. Now, it's funny because at first glance, the extra faces don't actually look very different, but if you really look close, one of them is more smiley with an open mouth with the wide eyes, well, the other one has definitely got the more angry, sculpted eyes, so they are slightly different from one another, and this will allow you to interchange his faces and give you some different emotions for Bucky. So one thing about these figures, and this is something that Boss Fight has already kind of notified everybody of, the plastic is a little harder than they anticipated, and thus interchanging the face plates is a little more difficult than what they intended. It definitely helps if you get a hair dryer and put it on like a low warm setting and just kind of warm up the plastic a little bit. It'll allow you, especially the first time, to be able to change the faces easier. So once I did that, it definitely made it easier. You can easily pop the faces right off. There's a little joint right there in the front, or a little peg, and in its place, you should be able to just pop the new face right on that socket and just clip it in there, and that way you can interchange his faces around and give him a few different looks with like the angry face or the more big smiley face. So that is a pretty cool little feature. In addition to interchanging those faces, we've also got some extra hands. So you'll notice that right now I've got Bucky with the hands that are meant for holding onto his blasters that we're going to look at in a minute. In addition to that, we also have closed fists, and we have an extra pair of hands where the left hand is wide open and the right hand is pointing. If you want to swap these out, it's very easy. Just kind of grip onto the forearm there, give a good tug on the hand with your other fingers, it'll pop it right off the peg, and it's very easy to swap the new hands on in its place. And again, just really great for kind of mixing and matching parts, so that way you've got different ways to display them. Which brings us, of course, to his blasters. Very nicely done, great metallic silver paint deco. Both blasters are identical, but he holds them very nicely in those gripping hands, and even has the little trigger finger that goes through the trigger spots. So Bucky here really is a fun figure all around. So let's go ahead and hop on over and take a look at his first mate, Jenny. So Jenny's build is, of course, a lot thinner than Bucky's. He's kind of got that more chunky, stout build there. Jenny, of course, is tall and slender, and of course, the way she was drawn, she's got the very skinny legs with the very, very small feet. So I was really curious how this was going to work with the figure, and I'll tell you guys, the way that the tail has been sculpted on the back, it is definitely done so that the figure stands a lot better. It almost works like a little tripod there. So once you get her positioned, get that tail in place, that's going to help her keep standing. It is a bit tough to keep her standing without, because her tail and her head are a bit top heavy, and she's got those skinny legs, so she is going to fall down. But luckily that tail does keep her standing there. Just like with Bucky, though, I think the overall sculpt is wonderful, a great look for Jenny. And of course, the reason that this is so exciting that we got Jenny right out the gate is that while she's one of the main characters in the series, she was intended to be released in that Hasbro line, got bumped to Wave 2, and then the line got canceled. So the figure was sculpted and ready to go, but never shipped. So she's one of those canceled figures that never came out that everybody has always wanted. So now we finally have a Jenny in our collections, and I think she really turned out rad. Great sculpt all the way around. I love that even though she's a bright white in color on her hair and a tail, there's some really great shading with some blues there that really helps to bring out the design, give her that more kind of comic booky look. And then all of the silver that's used on there is nice and shiny and kind of metallic, even the little kind of pinks that are used in there as well. The only spot I found this to be a problem is in her ankle joints. You'll notice that the paint has already kind of rubbed off down here where I've been articulating her ankles, but otherwise, great looking figure. Articulation, of course, is similar to Bucky's, with the big, heavy sculpt of her hair. That'll hinder the movement a little bit, but not too bad. You can still roll the head all the way around. Great ball joints at the shoulders, swivels at the elbow, bends at the elbow, swivels at the wrist. We do have a nice torso swivel there, a nice cut in the torso, so we can move her there. We got the ball sockets at the thighs, so legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. Swivel at the knee, bend at the knee. Great bends at the ankles there, where the joints are a little bit different. You'll notice they're on the pegs. I did just pop that right out of the boot, but you can pop it right back in there if it pops out of place. So it's a little bit different than Bucky's because it doesn't really have the rocker, just a little peg, but still some really nice articulation with Jenny here. So while Jenny's articulation might be a little bit different than Bucky's, one place where she definitely excels is with her accessories, because she has got a ton of interchangeable parts. First of all, she has got an extra face that Bucky doesn't have, making it for a total of 4 different face plates. She's got this cute winking face, which I absolutely love. She's got one that's very serious with the eyes kind of in that angular look, the angry look. And then she's got a happy face with an open mouth, very similar to Bucky's. So her head works exactly the same, and again, it helped a lot to warm it up the first time with a hair dryer, but you can easily just pop that right off. You can see there's a little peg there, and if we want to swap it out, look at that, the new face just clicks right there in place, and we've made a completely different look for our Jenny figure. I absolutely love that. So along with those interchangeable faces, we've got interchangeable hands, and she has got a bunch of different options here. I've got her with the closed fist currently, but she's also got these really great kind of open hands for like using her telekinesis powers, which is great. So you can see they're kind of like these open hands. She's also got some that look like they could be holding on to blasters, which is very cool. And then she's also got these great ones with like the little I guess daggers, you know, using her telekinesis powers. Great translucent pink on there. And the other thing that I absolutely love is the little translucent pieces that clip around her wrists that make it look like she's using her psychic powers. So these are very cool. And just to show you guys how that works, you can easily just pull the hands right off the pegs at the wrist. And if you want to use those little attachments, like the magic attachments, it's very easy. Just kind of put it right there on the wrist. I have found it easiest to put them on before clipping the new hand in, but check that out. And then it just floats kind of right around the wrist there. Makes for some very, very fun posing options with her. So Jenny turned out to be another fantastic figure in what's looking like to be an incredible line of action figures. Alright guys, it's comparison time! So I talked about those vintage Bucky O'Hare figures, and I wanted to show Bucky side by side with that original action figure from Hasbro. Like I said, I loved those original figures, and while they're a bit weirder looking because they got the chunky nature to them, I always liked that about those, and that's why when the new figures were announced, I was actually worried they were going to be a little bit too small, being in the smaller 3 3/4 inch scale, but actually looking at them side by side, they scale very well with each other, and then the proportions on the new figure, of course, are much more accurate to the way he appeared in the cartoon and the original comic. So very cool seeing these side by side like this. My old Bucky needs a bath though, how about that? And of course I don't have the vintage Jenny since she was never released, but one thing I wanted to do was also put these guys with the rest of the vintage team, just because I thought that would be fun to see what they looked like standing alongside those. And I cannot wait for Boss Fight's version of every one of these characters. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Bucky O'Hare and First Mate Jenny from Boss Fight Studio. I think they nailed it. This is a line, like I said, that I was very excited when I found out was coming. Not something I ever expected to get rehashed. And these right here are exactly what I wanted out of a brand new Bucky O'Hare action figure line. If you are a fan of those original figures, the cartoon series, or the comic, I would highly recommend picking these up and adding them to your collection. These are, of course, a smaller line of figures. They are not sold at retail. They're through a smaller company. Each figure will run you $34.99, but with all of the awesome accessories we get with these guys, the collector-friendly packaging, everything that is done, all of the love and attention that is put into these figures, in my opinion, it is well worth it. You can check these guys out at the Boss Fight Studio store. I will put a link in the video description. The initial run has already sold out, but they're taking pre-orders for a next run of these guys, and like I said, there are already more Bucky figures on the way, so definitely check them out. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of these guys, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any of my toy reviews. Until next time, my friends.